everybody. Welcome back to the Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my other hosts of the Almost Sideways podcast. Or wait, other way. This is Todd. How's it going?
Awesome.
Yeah, and we are here to review. We are back to review the 2008 film The Wrestler, directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Mickey Rourke, Marisa Tomei, and just a fantastic film. And Evan Rachel Wood, we should mention her as well because she's a fantastic in her scenes in this movie. So I guess I'll throw it over to Todd. Todd, what's this movie about, and what's your first overall thoughts about it?
So the movie is about a wrestler, or a former wrestler, who was famous in the 80s. His name is Randy the Ram, and that is played by Mickey Rourke in one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. The movie starts with like this montage of like newspaper clippings of the 80s about when he was like the hottest wrestler in the world. There were even video games made after him, and then it cuts to his present day, which is in 2008. He is broken down. He has heart problems. He has a lot of health problems, and he learns that, or he pretty much realizes that wrestling is not his long-term future. So he has to, or he is sort of forced to like face his life. He tries to reconnect with his estranged daughter. He tries to make a relationship with this stripper played by Marisa Tomei, and it really is like the story of somebody who is at the height of their fame and is like learning to live with the slow, inevitable decline of their life. And this movie absolutely destroyed me the first time I watched it. I remember watching it in the theater in 2008, or it might have been early 2009 when it actually got to me, but it was something else. And I was immediately emotionally invested. I'm not a pro wrestling fan the way Adam is, but I absolutely was mesmerized by this movie. I actually did a term paper about Darren Aronofsky in college. Wow. This is his masterpiece. His career had his really showy new age directing gimmicks that were either really successful in Requiem for a Dream, or they were like disasters, like in The Fountain. But this one, he like calms down, he lets the story breathe, and it is just like a really unflinching look at the story that I feel like only he could really do, because he still really had the same tendencies he did before. He just didn't have like the ridiculous gimmicks that he did. But it's just as painful to watch it because he still has the violence and the after effects of the violence, but it's without the brutality that really makes it different. And I don't know, I'm probably the biggest Aronofsky fan on the planet, but I think this movie is amazing. It's moved into my top 10 of all time. It's basically a perfect movie, and it's almost poetic the way it's told, with the music, with the directing, with the performances. It is top notch in every way.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear you say another person has put this in their top 10 of all time movies, because it's up there with me too. So this movie is fantastic, and like as having that background in the wrestling too, who's not, I've keep up with it. Don't necessarily watch it every day, or anything like that, but keep up with my favorite wrestlers, see what they're doing, type of thing. See some matches and stuff. And seeing that, this film really accurately depicts the life of, the life after your prime is over, and having to deal with that, especially when people, that's all they know their whole entire life is this fame and doing your matches, and your body's breaking down. Like he says, he's a busted down, broken piece of meat in this movie. That's basically what he is. But he's addicted to the fame, the fans, that love that they give, the pop of the crowd, and all addicted to other things most likely as well. And that's all he knows in his life. And we see him, not just as a wrestler, but we see him as a guy who works at a Acme grocery or some Acme store or whatever. I was waiting for the road run. Yeah, in the deli, broken down piece of meat. He's serving meat, kind of a interesting comparison there. But anyway, let's quickly mention Darren Aronofsky here. I don't think this movie really works without him, but you're definitely right. He is very controlled in this one. He lets the story play out and doesn't try to like do anything really gimmicky. I think if he was trying to really do any gimmicky stuff, I think the wrestling community would have really called him out for him. And I don't think this maybe would have been as powerful as the movie actually would have been if he would have done something silly with it. But let's kind of talk the guy's filmography. I know you guys kind of do a power rankings, and we didn't really discuss this at all, but I kind of thought this would be kind of an interesting time to talk about him, because I know you guys reviewed Mother a while ago when that came out. And I know I haven't seen Pi, but I've seen the other movies that he's done. You've seen all of his movies, I take it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I remember after I watched this movie is what it actually inspired me, because I didn't really have an idea for that term paper. It was like a intro to film class, and I was just like, I was so high on the wrestler. I was like, okay, this is going to be my thing. And I even said in that thing, I was like, he is like on the brink of something great. And then eventually, like, his next movie got him his most Oscar love with Black Swan. Yeah. So I mean, I was right on with that. I knew that he was on the right path. He's so much better with that low budget than he is with a big budget.
Anyway, let's dive into the wrestler here, and let's start off with our first category. You guys always start off with the highest war performance, which is the most irreplaceable person in the cast. Or there's a lot of good choices, I think, in this one. I think the top three. I think that you have to go with Mickey Rourke, of course, and I'll start off with Mickey Rourke. Wow, what a performance that he had! Obviously, everybody talked about it as the most like Oscar like what the heck moment like ever. Like, he didn't win. I have some theories of why he didn't win, and we'll talk about that in conspiracies later on, because I kind of know some information from a wrestling podcast that I listen to that might shine some light on that subject. Jeez.
I'm even teased by that.
Yeah.
Skip forward?
We'll back up a second. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, Mickey Rourke, my goodness. He reminded me so much of seeing these older wrestlers who were big stars in the 80s, 90s. Hulk Hogan comes to mind, Ric Flair, these guys who are way past their prime, still in the wrestling game, still wrestling. Ric Flair is one of the greatest world champions of all time in wrestling from 3 different decades. He's won the most championship belts or whatever, and he just appeared on TV last week. He's in a rivalry with his daughter, Charlotte Flair, who is he's not fighting her, mind you. He has another blonde woman fighting his blonde daughter, because WWE loves their tall blonde women. So it's interesting to see Ric Flair still on TV, still flying and profiling, starting his stuff all the time, doing his famous catchphrase and going woo all the time. But anyway, I think I get a lot of his vibes, the Randy the Ram Robinson's vibes in this movie from like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, guys who are way past their prime, still doing it because they're addicted to it. They can't get out of it. They're known for this. They just keep doing it until their body just shuts down. So Mickey Rourke for me. I think my favorite scene, non-wrestling fighting scene in this one was when he's doing that autograph signing, and it's with all the busted down wrestlers. There's the guy with a catheter, guy in using the cane, the guy with the wheelchair. What a sad scene. And we just watched, if you can't kill Dave Arquette, there's the autograph signing scene there that's super cringe, where he's trying to get his autograph signed and no one wants them. Those guys are not nearly as broken down, but you can imagine they're probably wearing some battle scars there too. But yeah, Mickey Rourke definitely deserved a lot of the awards. Zach wanted us to mention his Film Independent or Spirit Award that he won. That his speech was pretty money. So I'll probably play that at some point in this episode. But who's your highest award in the film there, Todd?
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, there's only one answer, and it's Mickey Rourke. I mean, because I know the movie was not written for him. It was actually written for Nicolas Cage, which makes that category completely easy. He would obviously play that part. But the movie...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was written for Nicolas Cage, but Aronofsky wanted Rourke, so Cage decided he's like, okay, I'll drop out, because, I mean, I think that Mickey is better for it. And Nicolas Cage also said that he wouldn't take steroids, and that he said it's the only way that he could get in the kind of shape to be that character. So I think Nicolas Cage would have been fascinating. So I mean, that's obviously who Nicolas Cage would play. He would play the Ram, but Mickey Rourke, the movie was eventually shaped around him, because he yeah, it was like it eventually reveals itself to be sort of a parallel to his life. It's kind of hard to deny that. And like, he just has this natural charisma of a born performer. Like,
Yeah.
the scenes with the old fans, the scenes with like the kid, the scenes with him at the deli, it's just somebody who's just like riffing. It's like the only time, like, since the 80s, that you get that like magnetism from Mickey Rourke that like reminded everybody that this is the next Brando, because that's what everyone thought in the 80s. Like, this is the next Brando. He was that good. He's this big, imposing, muscular force of an amazing actor, and he was obviously lost in the 90s, which is awesome, because like, him and Marisa are like, yeah, the 90s sucked, and that's totally what Mickey Rourke probably thinks, because like, he was gone for that whole decade, and he kind of ruined his career. And he came back, and this is the resurgence, like, of a lifetime. It's an amazing, it's a performance that I'll never forget the first time I was watching it. I love Sean Penn in Milk, but like, the fact that he beat Mickey Rourke just has always stung. Like, it makes me kind of disrespect Milk in a little in some way, which I shouldn't, because that's a great movie too. But like, Mickey Rourke, come on.
We can obviously say the Oscars were probably the least valuable player, probably, for this movie. The Wrestler as well as The Dark Knight. But let's move on to the worst performance of the film, and I think this is it was really tough for me to find out. What did you find for the worst performance?
So I'm going with Andrea Lange as Melissa, because that is the girl that he meets at the bar near the end, and because I don't know, I think she's kind of bad. Like, that performance should have been done by like a Malin Ackerman or something. But like, when the lady walks in on them like having sex in the bathroom, like, she doesn't even seem like she knows that she's there. It's like she thought she was actually doing porn. I don't think I've ever seen that girl act again since then, and I'm kind of glad.
Yeah. Geez, that's a good. Yeah, she didn't even respond to that. I had my worst performance. That's actually a really good one. I went with Tommy Rotten, which was the Mohawk wrestler that he fought the first time you saw. The only reason why, when you have a look at the wrestler, he looks clearly like a wrestler, but his voice doesn't match the body, type of thing. So it doesn't quite, like, if he was in a wrestling company now, I guarantee you he will probably have a manager or somebody, a mouthpiece for him. So he'll just be like the big muscular figure, and he'll have a manager talk. Like Brock Lesnar's the same way. He's obviously a brick house, but Paul Heyman talks for him, because you don't want a big intimidating guy with a squeaky voice like Brock Lesnar has. Don't find me, Brock. I'm sorry.
That guy actually is a wrestler, right? I was looking him up. I think he actually is a pro wrestler. I don't know. I kind of like his character, but yeah, he's not. I guess it's not a great performance. But
it's very nitpicky. He was only in there for that. He only spoke really one time, really, and
there's really no bad performance. I wouldn't even take that girl out of the movie. I would like to see Malin Ackerman or something play the role, but like, I'm like, shit. Like, she, like, that's a great scene. Like, he even mentions it in his acceptance speech.
Another perfect transition with your worst performance. I think the biggest stick man has to go to firefighters, or people who love firefighters. That's probably the easy way there. But who do you think the biggest stick man is of this film?
Well, it's got to be Randy, right?
Yeah. Heck, the British term for like really horny is Randy. So yeah, he's really Randy.
Randy rams like multiple women in this movie. I feel like he just like oozes cool regardless of the situation. Like, I don't know. He gets the hottest stripper in the joint to like fall for him, and like, even in Mickey Rourke's acceptance speech, I'll quote it. He says, we were exposing things like, drug use and steroids and banging the chick in the ass in the bathroom. And that is Randy the Ram. Like, that is him. And that's Mickey Rourke too. And he's an absolute stick man. Like, he's still pulling that ass at, in his late 50s. He looks like he should be in Metallica too, with like that hair, especially in the early, like the early photos. Like, he looks like early age Metallica. Like, he does not look like he should be slinging that, and he does, because Randy the Ram is an absolute stick.
Yeah, I was also thinking Guns N' Roses. You could throw him in like as Axl
Oh, yeah.
Rose. Yeah. So yeah, he kind of fits perfectly the hairband era of rock. Yeah, Stickman. I think it's definitely got to go with the Ram there because obviously he's the only person really we see or that kind of activity. And obviously, it's implied that the girl really has a thing for firefighters. I don't think it's implied. I think it's clearly, yeah. He wakes up with fireman's boots on, like. So they got it in twice in the movie because they did it in the bathroom and they went back to her place and got it in again. So yeah, at least one of them. But yeah, it's crazy. And plus, he's semi-famous, so people do know him. So he's gonna get that that tail on the throughout his career. So he's definitely the Ram. And plus, being like a partier, probably growing like in his wrestling career, there's some good stories to tell on the road with him. So.
He had the Ram Jam in more ways than one.
Yeah, he got the Ram Jam. All right, the biggest douchebag. I thought of a couple ones here. I'm going to start off first. I think I don't want to take your guy, but I'll go with the first. I think it's easily Wayne, the store manager here. Yeah, he's like, well, aren't you gonna? Isn't it Saturday the day that you're sitting on people's faces? And then he talks. Is that much the tights cost? He's always putting down his wrestling. So obviously, he doesn't like. He's not a wrestling fan. He thinks wrestling's stupid and just completely like just belittles his employees right in front of him. And then he's like, can you knock? Can you knock? And I definitely just watching porn in his office. And then he knocks and just freaking opens the door and like runs right into him. What a dick move!
Slams it right into him. Yeah.
Like this guy just had a heart attack. He didn't know that he did, but it's like, geez, Louise, dude. Freaking Wayne is really bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely a douchebag. I mean, that's the clear number one for sure.
Any ones that you found?
Well, I mean, obviously Randy, the Ram, is a pretty big douchebag. I mean, he keeps like screwing up his relationship with his daughter just because he wants to do coke and bang some random chick in a bathroom of a bar. But my like low key douchebag is the old lady with the potato salad at the deli, because she just like. She keeps making him go back like 4 different times to go change the amount just because it was like maybe a quarter of a potato off the weight. I'm like that lady is a complete asshole. Like every time, like that lady needs to be slapped. I'm glad he actually ate her potato salad before going back, even though it's really not COVID friendly right now. But but like then it's just like, yeah, screw you, lady. And then it was perfect. Of course, he's like. Exactly. Boom.
I also thought of the bachelor party guys up at the club. The first time you meet Marisa Tomei, he's like, what's the like graduating in 1985? Like, is that the first what you can do better than my girl is graduating in 1985? Like, just putting her down the whole entire time, and the Ram comes and saves the day. Yeah, those guys are pretty douchebags.
Bachelor party guys are always the biggest douchebag, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, promising young woman. You get this one. You get
leaving Las Vegas. Shit.
Yeah. There's so many. That's a power rankings, right? The biggest bachelor party douchebags. There we go.
Although in Leave Las Vegas, they're not actually bachelor party. I think they're like seniors in high school, but at the same time, they basically are like they're like I don't know, frat douchebags.
Basically, we'll just round them into the same category. Biggest douchebag. I think Wayne is kind of the clear one, but I love the Rams there too. The Big Tim, High Roller, like Amazing Larry, Minor. Hopefully I said all of them. If I did that without writing them down, I think that's pretty good. Minor character of the film. So many characters, some interesting characters here. Let's see. What do I write down here? Okay. Yeah. I have a gimmick one, but I'm going to go with Big Chris, the bouncer at the strip club. Nice. He's like, he knows the Ram, and he does, even when the Ram's getting belligerent with Marisa Tomei or Cassidy at the club, he doesn't come up. He plays it cool. He's like, hey, Ram, knock it off. Let's get out of here. He doesn't come up there. You just hear his voice, and Ram's like, okay, I'm not going to mess with you because we have a good relationship. I'm the guy bringing you drugs, basically, so your back can feel better. So Big Chris has respect for the Ram, but also, hey, I'm the authority here. I don't want to beat you up but I will if I have to. So I like Big Chris in the movie. Didn't get a whole lot of roles, but Big Tim, Big Chris, it fits. So
yeah, and you could tell they've had their run-ins in the past, so
oh yeah,
there's mutual respect there.
He's probably lost some, he's won some. They probably got it. They probably had some wrestling matches.
They didn't get it in. I don't think.
So. No, I didn't mean that, but you know what I
meant. So mine is you only see him very briefly. It's Lenny, which is his landlord, which is played by Mark Margolis, who I guess you probably most know him as playing Tio Salamanca in Breaking Bad, but he's like really short and direct with Randy, because like usually in that kind of role, the person who's trying to evict the main character is like a really, really ruthless asshole. But in this movie, like he's kind of nice. He's almost like a fatherly figure to Randy. He gives him a second chance. He's like, okay, that was it. You're paying now. And then he knows that he can't go do something stupid. I really like what Lenny stands for. And I mean, even though we only see him for like maybe 10 seconds, like, I mean, that guy always has stuck out to me as one of the most interesting minor characters in the movie.
Yeah. I was actually thinking like, I like his opening. He's carrying his bags. He's like, you pay, you get to open up the house, and he doesn't even let like the Ram speak. He's like, no, I'm not going to play this game with you. I'm going to have to give you some tough love right there. So that's good call. Good call there. Another one that I thought of was the guy with the artificial leg. He's like, use his leg, use his leg. That's a great. Then he hits him with the leg on the case. He's like, yeah, it's freaking crazy. That's a fun scene.
I also kind of like his drug dealer. I don't know what his name is, but like that guy knew his shit. Like he had he obviously was jacked as shit. But I mean, he just like rattled off everything he has. He's he even gives him a deal. I think he gave him the last 2 bottles for free. I mean, like that guy's kind of awesome. And he's just like, you're my man, boy. Like, because he's like even like Tomei, he like it's one of his fans. It's like they grew up watching this guy, so they're like, you're my boy. So yeah, hell, I'll give it to you. He's like an idol of all these guys who grew up watching him. Those kind of guys, like a lot of those guys, which I actually think that. I feel like Chris Benoit was in one shot of this movie, and I'm yet to actually confirm, but I really think he was. But I mean,
he could have been crazy if he was still alive and has all the negativity of not surrounding him anymore. But he would have been interesting to have in this movie as be maybe even as the Ram, because he was very charismatic too. Let's see here, Chris Benoit. I know that.
I mean, I think it was just like one shot. I'm like, I feel like that's Chris Benoit, but I've never actually seen it confirmed, and he's not listed on the IMDb or anything.
He died in 2007.
Oh, so it would have been the year it was shot, I guess. Okay. So it probably isn't him then. But
yeah,
there's one guy that looks a lot like him.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm not 100% sure it's kind of hard because even WWE doesn't even recognize Chris Benoit anymore because of what he did with murdering his wife and his kid, his son. So they don't even recognize him at all. That's one of the blacklisted guys. Like even on their WWE network, they don't even like show his matches or anything like that. They don't even recognize that he's a wrestler, which I get, because you can't have that person in your front, something that he did so blatantly bad, like be in the front and center on this public traded company, but it also sucks because he was a fantastic thing, but what his deeds outside of the ring kind of overshadow what he did. So makes sense. Yeah. But there is actually a wrestler that's currently wrestling in WWE in this film. So when he goes back and just kind of visits, the wrestling match, the guy that asks like, "Oh, you want a beer? You want to get you a drink?" The guy who hugs him, the black guy in the movie, that guy, his name is R-Truth. He's actually in WWE, and he's the current 24/7 champion right now. So he's still wrestling in his 40s. He's like 45 or something like that.
So he must have been nothing at this point. Like this must have been.
Yeah, he was going back and forth. I think his indie name was Ron Killings because that's his real name, but or his outside of WWE name. But yeah, he was there for a while, then got fired, then came back, and now he's there because he can make Vince McMahon laugh. That's pretty much why he has a job, because Vince McMahon thinks he's funny, so he has a job until he can't make him laugh, I guess. That's how the story goes anyway. But yeah, our truth.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I would love I don't know how good a job I would do if I can't. If I don't make the boss laugh, then I better restart looking for a new job, I guess. All right. You guys what do you guys do next after minor characters?
Favorite scene?
Oh yeah, favorite scene. Okay, favorite scene. What's your favorite scene there, Todd? Forgot about this category, to be honest with you. The whole movie's so good.
I have 3 that I wrote down. I mean, my actual favorite scene is probably the very last scene with Pam, like before he goes into the match at the end, because he's like, the only place I get hurt is out there. The world don't give a shit about me. He's like, in there, that's where I belong. And I honestly can't hear Sweet Child of Mine without thinking of that scene. And that's really strange because that song is everywhere. It's in a lot of movies. That's in a lot of commercials. It's in a lot of everything. But I every time I hear the intro to that song, I'm just like, oh, like the Rams about to go into the match. Like, because that made such a profound impact on me. That scene and I think that, like, when she's like, I'm here, I'm really here, I thought that was the best line that I had heard in a movie in a long time, and it's still like it still gets me to this day.
Yeah, man, that scene. There's a couple of moments that almost brought me to tears, of course, in this movie, but that's definitely one of them. That I'm here, I'm actually here, and he chooses to go out. Like that's sad because he's so used to being rejected his whole life, and the only thing that's not rejecting him is the fans, the pop of the crowd. And so he chose to do that. And then he looks up if she was still there, and she wasn't. So he, who knows how the movie would have ended. I guess we can talk about that later. But yeah, that's a great scene. I love that one as well. That's in the running for me. I think another one, I don't know. I like the hardcore match where he's getting the staples taken out, and they kind of do those flashbacks. The 14 minutes later, they keep going back and forth. Again, another thing that documentary you watched, it's kind of how they're talking through the match, and they're kind of going back and forth between the segments of like showing the actual footage and they're actually talking through it. It kind of reminded me, there's similarities to how that's shot in a way, but seeing, the after effects and then seeing the brutality of how they got there kind of play out. I thought that's right before his heart attack. That's one of my favorite scenes. This is how they were able to do it. And he's like, I don't look like much, but I can at least do one against the ropes, but not much running for me. And but we can get it done. How do you feel about staples? What staples? What are you talking about? I've never done that before. And the guy staples a $5 bill to his forehead. Like that's hardcore. That's hardcore.
Well, he does, yeah. And then he's like, chest, arm, and I'm like, damn, this guy's nuts.
Yeah, jeez Louise. Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones too. Hardcore matches are no joke. Not my favorite ones. I don't like watching them because I'm like, that's just a little too violent for me. But anyway, it was cool for this movie anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's some of the other ones you had?
Well, we've mentioned it before. The monologue that he has at the beach, where I'm a old broken down piece of meat and I just don't want you to hate me. Is that okay? And then, they go back and they end up like breaking into that room and have a dance. Like that is all. Yeah. I mean, there's just tears. Like that entire sequence is just tears. And I'm pretty sure that's the same exact room that like most of like Boardwalk Empire was shot at. It definitely looks like it. Like they fixed it up for that show or something, but that whole sequence is just, it's a beautiful thing, and then that's why Mickey Rourke got his Oscar nomination, was because those were his Oscar moments. That should have won him the Oscar. I don't think Sean Penn had a moment like that in Milk, but
yeah, that's a good point.
And the other one, I love the scene where he meets Pam and they go to the bar where they're like I mentioned it earlier when they say yeah, 90s sucked, and they're singing Round and Round. Like that's just a great sequence and a great scene where they're just like totally themselves, and they realize that they're with somebody else who is also at the end of their career, and they could just like relax and be themselves with somebody who appreciates the same music they do, because nobody else that they work with does, because they all were born when that music was popular, kind of, so it's
Yeah.
that's a great scene. And like they're everything with Pam and Randy is just amazing.
Yeah, it's also kind of like you can definitely find comparisons between Pam and Randy in this movie quite easily. They both are like they're really, Mam's very like just shuts him off out, because she doesn't want to get hurt too. She has other stuff, and it's tough. It sucks. That ending is. I wish they could be together, but who knows what happens after credits roll. I think Randy's either still wrestling or he has a heart attack. Something happens to him after the credits start rolling, but it's definitely any scene with them on camera together is the best that this movie is. Like this movie is fantastic throughout, but when they're on screen, it's great together. I think another one.
He actually might. You think he actually might be alive? Like I think he dies the moment.
No, I think he dies. Basically, that's why they don't show anything. That's basically he's yep, okay. I'm done. Yeah, I think he's dead too. I think he dies right there.
Okay, yeah, because he could hardly do. I mean, he almost died before he even climbed the rope. I mean, like
yeah. Okay. I think that if Pam was there still watching the match, he wouldn't have done.
Yeah, he would have just pinned him when Ayatollah asked him. He's like, "Yeah, Ramp just pinned me." Like I think he would have just done it then. Yeah, I mean,
and the fans would have been okay with it because they're seeing two of these old wrestlers actually do their stuff. They'd probably be disappointed. They didn't see his finishing move, but it's better than seeing a person die in the ring. That has happened in real life. People have died in the ring in front of people, and yeah, that's not really fun for the
I mean, and someone that old doing that finishing move, it could be just as anticlimactic as the end of the video game when he does the Ram Jam to the kid's character. It's like oh, Ram Jam, okay, it's over. Yep, and that's it.
Yeah, because his finisher. It was done, but he didn't have to do that. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, but yeah, that's a great scene. I think anything with Evan Rachel Wood.
Yeah.
Too. I know we haven't talked about her yet, but that scene where she was like, "I'm done." Like that's, whew, it's powerful, man. Like that was a great. Like I'm surprised she didn't get any like nominated for the Oscar for that performance. Yeah, it was a little smaller, and Marisa Tomei is by far has a little bit more to do in this movie, but Evan Rachel Wood is really a knockout.
She's fantastic. She's fantastic. I mean, that was like if we were recasting the movie, that'd be the hardest one for me to come up with somebody for because like nobody has that much emotional maturity at that age and could do those kind of roles like Evan Rachel Wood can.
Yeah, fantastic. I wish she could do more stuff. She hardly ever see her or anything. At least I haven't anyway. But she's great. Fantastic actress there too.
True Blood.
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen it. Let's go into our conspiracies and our conspiracies, flaws, things, nitpicks or whatever. I'll start off. You mentioned the Sweet Child of Mine song. I guarantee you they don't play that song actually, unless it's like a dark match where they actually don't televise it. Because Ring of Honor, the company that they were wrestling for, is actually a televised company. They're very small. They're way smaller they're like an indie promotion, but they're on TV on some districts across America. But I don't think they get the rights to Sweet Child of Mine being such a small indie wrestling promotion. Possibility.
Was that actually being recorded though? Like I feel like that was also. I mean, even though it was the biggest match that he had been in 20 years, I feel like that also might not have been on TV anywhere.
See, that's a good point too, because we don't. Obviously, it's a movie, and we're not seeing the actual film for TV. But it could have been just like a house show, which would be a non-televised thing. It's just like them going around the country and having these matches for the fans in that area. So that's probably what it is. But if it was on TV, I don't think that song gets played. Yeah,
that's a good call though.
But that's one of that I immediately saw because I know ROH, and it's like it's basically like the Everett Aqua Sox compared to like WWE. It's like it's a minor league. It's like still a promotion, but it's pretty lower tier. But a lot of great wrestlers come out of that company though. But that's one of them that I saw. How about you?
Well, I have written down. So when she pulls up to like the place to go shopping with the Ram, she parks right in front of a parking meter and she doesn't pay. And this is like 1 o'clock on a Saturday. They absolutely would still be like those meters would still be on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I noticed that.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I even looked up like what are the New Jersey laws in for parking meters, and yeah, they're absolutely open until like 6 p.m. on Saturdays. So that's a flaw.
That's
I wanted to make sure.
yeah.
Also, there's a flaw because in one of my favorite scenes, Randy the Ram does throw shade at Kurt Cobain. He says that
I was like, what the hell? Really?
yeah, he's like, yeah, that Cobain pussy, came and ruined everything. And I'm like, no, he did not. But okay, I mean, I still love you, Randy. I also want to know, do you think that he actually thought that that green jacket was going to please his daughter? Because there's part of me that thinks, because I mean, I always thought that he got it, but as like a joke, and then he got the pea coat to be like the finisher, like it actually shows in the movie. But there's part of me that thinks he actually thought that she would really dig the bright green jacket with an S, and that he got the pea coat as like a backup, as if like he might be really wrong. And
No, that's exactly what happened because even like she didn't even take it with him. Somehow he was carrying that green jacket, the S, like after and they were walking up to her house and they say goodbye. He's holding that jacket as she's leaving into the house. Like
right, but I mean, but like when he bought both of them, do you think he got which one do you think he got as the backup? Like, or
yeah, he got the Pico for the backup. He clearly, I think he clearly.
So you think that he actually thinks that the like the jacket, the S jacket, is the one that she would like?
Oh yeah, and I think that is because it most resembles his color palette for his wrestling gear.
Right. Yeah, and I get that, but I mean, I feel like I don't know. It's a little unclear because I've always figured that he got that as like a joke because he realized that he was a joke when she brought up the idea of getting the pea coat. And so he got that and he gives that to her. He's like, yeah, that's not my real gift. This is my real gift. And then it's like obviously something really interesting.
Having that perspective that you just said actually
that's the way I've always thought. But I mean, this time watching it, I thought that maybe he actually thought that was the best option.
I always
like 6 or 7 times.
I've thought it the other way. I thought that was the actual gift that he wanted to get her, but he's like, I'll just get this other coat just in case she doesn't like it. I thought legit like the S for Stephanie.
Yeah.
Which is probably the most cringeworthy line. It's the S for Stephanie.
Oh, look, it's got an S on it.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
But
maybe.
Yeah, that jacket.
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut, yeah. That's that jacket's not good. One thing I did too, that video game, the what's it called? Wrestling Jam. So there's only been like three companies that have had video games after them. WWE, WCW, and TNA. Total nonstop action wrestling, not the other thing that you're probably thinking of. It's called Impact Wrestling now, but that TNA only had one video game based off of it, and nothing after that. It didn't make so much money. But WWE has several games every year to basically Madden for wrestling games. So he would have been a pretty big promotion. If Ring of Honor is in this, you would have to imagine WWE probably would have been in it too. He probably could have been in that company to have a video game based off of him called Wrestling Jam. So he could probably be kind of like a different version of Hulk Hogan. And the Ayatollah could have been like the Iron Sheik, which was their kind of rivalry with the guy. They always come out with the flag and stuff like that too. He could be basically like a Hulk Hogan type of character in WWE. And so I'm assuming this video game, WWE video game. So that's kind of my conspiracy theory, roughly, on that.
I did read that Hulk Hogan was approached at one point to if he was interested in the role.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
Weird. I couldn't imagine him being directed by Darren Aronofsky, but I mean, if he obviously fits the profile.
I'm a broken down piece of meat, brother. I can't see him say it. No.
He's got his daughter. They could have been in the movie too, right?
No, not his daughter. Hogan does not know best. I can tell you that. But Chris Hemsworth is supposed to play Hulk Hogan in
that's beautiful.
Yeah, Hemsworth in a Netflix movie, and Bradley Cooper is supposed to play Vince McMahon.
I didn't know that part. That's pretty good.
Yeah. course, Vince has to get this hot looking guy to be him. Yeah, of course. But Bradley,
that's like how Robert Downey Jr. was like rumored to play Hugh Hefner at one point. I mean, he should have.
Probably, yeah.
Instead, Stanley ended up playing him.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I will reveal my conspiracy theory about him not winning his Oscar now. So, from everything I've heard on podcasts and stuff like that, this movie came out close to, or his Oscar push and everything when he got his nomination and stuff like that too, happened close to WrestleMania, which is basically the Super Bowl for WWE. And they were trying to see if Mickey Rourke wanted to have a match at WrestleMania to promote the movie, and also the event. They love having their big celebrities kind of push envelopes. They've hinted at they've had Dennis Rodman has fought in WCW before. Karl Malone has also fought there too, and a bunch of other celebrities come throughout the years to kind of help push the box office for those ticket sales. And they wanted Mickey Rourke to fight Chris Jericho, which is a very guy who's still wrestling today in AEW. But Chris Jericho, the lead singer of Fozzy as well. I don't know if you listen to Fozzy, but it's very interesting. Anyway, so they were trying to promote this match, and Jericho was saying stuff, and Mickey Rourke doesn't realize that he's just trying to try to set up this match to try to promote it. So he thinks Chris Jericho's being serious. So even his publicist said, no, you don't want to do this match type of thing. You don't want to do it. And eventually they don't have an actual one-on-one match at all. But he still appears at WrestleMania. And the reason why they don't want them to appear is because he's probably going to hurt his Oscar chances, because now it's kind of a promotional thing. And it could be taken as a joke type of thing.
Oh, I was just saying, you think that could be similar to when J-Lo did the halftime show at the Super Bowl, as promotion for her Oscar run last year? I mean,
I think it's a little
deeper than that, but I mean, there's also the fact
there's more to the Mickey Rourke thing too, because
he was actually a a semi-pro boxer in the 90s, and maybe he didn't want to mess up his record or something. There's a lot of layers. I didn't know anything about that.
He actually got in the ring at WrestleMania too.
Okay. So
the more that goes into it was that Chris Jericho said something on a talk show, I believe, and trying to fight Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke, it doesn't have it, whatever, blah blah blah. And a lot of the wrestling community does support this movie. It's how accurate it is, obviously, with the blading technique, how he busted himself open and stuff like that with the blade. A lot of, and the steroid use and a lot of hookers in the bathroom. It's very accurate stuff. But anyway, he's trying to set up this match and try to promote this to try to get the biggest box office, biggest paycheck, for the rest of that event. And Mickey Rourke doesn't necessarily understand that that's what he's trying to do, just trying to sell tickets. He thinks he's being serious. So somehow Mickey Rourke says, okay, I'll be there, but I'm bringing some of my buddies. And he shows up with 3 UFC fighters with him, legit hardcore freaking boxing. They're sitting in the front row. He's sitting there with his cowboy hat or his little hat or whatever, chewing his little toothpick in the thing. And Chris Jericho's match comes on. He doesn't fight Mickey Rourke. He fights 3 different legends. He fights, I believe it was Ricky Steamboat. And then it was, I believe, maybe Ric Flair and somebody else. And I can't remember his name, but it was it was a decent match. And then he starts pointing at Mickey Rourke, and Mickey Rourke gets in the ring, and he freaking punches Jericho in the face and gives him a black eye. And that's the whole thing. So he actually stepped foot in the match and threw a punch. And that could have been why he didn't get his Oscar, because now it's just petty because WWE doesn't get taken seriously type of thing. And wrestling's dumb and fake. And now he just stepped in foot in the ring and did that.
That'd be so bad.
That's the conspiracy theory, though. That's what people think.
How much do the Academy voters actually watch those wrestling?
But wrestling, that's the biggest event, and the trends too. It could be a lot of people Ricky Rourke accepted it's headline news for TMZ or whatever.
And he sort of cheap shotted one of the top names in the business.
Yeah, who?
Like I said, he's a boxer. Of course, he's gonna throw a punch.
Yeah, and the fans pop so hard for that too because they're like, yeah. But Jericho was nervous apparently a little bit because of the UFC fighters being there, and then eventually they talked to him like, he can't. They don't. Mickey Rourke just don't step in the ring with those fighters or whatever, and they didn't. But still, at the same time, it's kind of interesting. If I find the link for that conversation, like all the details play out, I'll send that to you. So it's pretty interesting stuff to hear. So,
All right.
yeah, that's the biggest one. Who knows if he lost his Oscar because of throwing a cheap shot to Chris Jericho in WrestleMania.
Hey, I mean, I'm all for conspiracy theories, so that's awesome.
Worst things can happen, I guess. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't really know of any other conspiracy theories that this movie has. So I love talking conspiracy theories. I think this has actually been one of the more fun films to talk about that I've had a deep dive with you. So for all those different little interesting nuggets of information with the wrestling community. Let's go to the MVP. It's kind of MVP, LVP of the film. I'll start off first. MVP for me. I think the authenticity of the movie is one of the most valuable players for the film because of how authentic, and obviously big wrestling fans, and not just wrestling fans but wrestlers themselves have said stuff like it's actual legit real. And one of the documentaries I had watched called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, which was a big 80s wrestler as well. He always carry a bag over his shoulder with a big giant snake in it. He went through, his rehab where he was basically the Ram. The Snake Roberts, he was a guy basically like the Ram, going and still wrestling way past his prime, and broken down, out drinking all night, doing coke and all this crazy stuff. So, he changed his life around, and seeing, watching that documentary and seeing the comparisons between like these old wrestlers past the prime, just doing what they know. They're not just addicted to the drugs, what they're putting in their body, but also that pop. They don't know what to do anything else. So seeing that is also kind of like, it's sad, but it's also very real at the same time. So something that's definitely the most valuable thing is how accurately they depict all these different things. Like they talk about blading to the different wrestling moves and stuff like that too. It's very, very real in that aspect. So that's definitely one of my most valuable players of the film.
So who do you credit to being how it got that way?
That's a good. I want to say, I don't know the whole making of the backstory of the making of it, but I would have to probably put Aronofsky probably partially credit because he knew that he wanted Mickey Rourke to be kind of pretty accurate into this. So he had drawn not just comparisons to wrestling, but also himself too, or to Rourke himself, meaning. So I think Aronofsky would have to do something like that as well, especially you're telling a story, a wrestling movie, which never, there hasn't been a real actual like story like this played out. Usually a lot of the wrestling movies are kind of fake, like the David Arquette movie, like the Ready to Rumble or whatever. It's very cheesy, comedic. There's not a whole lot of like this kind of wrestling being taken seriously. So they're trying to tell the actual after effects of the film. So for the most authentic story, Aronofsky probably is the MVP.
I mean, you know a lot about method actors, but I feel like if there is a method director, it's probably Aronofsky.
Mostly, yeah, that's probably safe to say, right?
My MVP, I went with Robert Siegel, who is the writer of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like that he's probably the one who has the most authenticity that is put into the movie, and he went on to write and direct Big Fan, which is another just like painful sports movie that is also sort of a comedy. Like he's a really interesting writer, and the screenplay here I feel like is the most underrated part of it because without him the movie would not have existed. And he wrote the part for Nicolas Cage, which makes him like Hall of Fame in my book, but this is like, I feel like everything about this movie just feels so real. And I feel like a person who's making like basically his first major screenplay, it's got to be mostly accredited to him. I mean, and obviously giving a shout out to Aronofsky and Mickey Rourke because that trio makes the movie one of the top movies ever. So, but I'll give it to Robert Siegel because I feel like I'll never actually say his name again on this podcast until we get a big fan.
Yeah, we're gonna talk big fan. Football season be my first time watch. That's where I'm saving it so that we can get into football season. We might invite the other guys to do a good conversation about that, a group conversation about that film. That'd be fun. LVP for this movie. I'll start this one off again. I think it's retail jobs. They suck. The customers are horrible. A little bit more, a little bit less, a little bit more. Do I know you? All these pestering questions, having their bosses, looking at porn in their offices, when all you're wanting as an employee is to ask for more hours, and they're just going to be dicks to you. So I think retail jobs, I think that's the biggest LVP of the movie. But if I had, and also getting old sucks too. Both of those things are pretty lousy.
Well, I'll drink to that. So
yeah. Cheers, brother.
My LVP. Other than the Academy for snubbing it for Best Original Song and Best Picture.
Great call.
I would say the salon lady who was doing his hair, because evidently last time he went to her, he fried his hair. And if you're a salon specialist, you should not be like the one famous person that comes into your ratty little salon. You should not be screwing up their hair. So if he's actually complaining about it, Mickey Rourke with his big old long locks,
just seeing him with his little glasses, reading a little magazine with his hair all foiled up. That's like the shot right there, man. That's. So how's your husband? Work. And I love that the next shot too. He goes into the salon. He's like, "Oh, hey babe, the number 5's open or whatever," and just goes back to her phone call. It's like we know you. You go ahead. I love that.
I can't imagine him getting his hair done that much. I mean, couldn't he dye his own hair for really cheap? I mean, that's really all he does, right? He lets it just grow.
That is true, but his only interaction with people is on these little, he doesn't have anybody that he hangs out with, really. Maybe that's his hangout time. Who knows?
Other than the strip club.
Yeah, that's true. And that's just paying for his social time, I guess. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Well, and playing the game with the little kid. I mean, and that's kind of actually a tragic scene, because that scene lasts it's a really short scene, and then the kid's just all right, dude, I gotta go. I'm tired of reliving your old glory days with you, kind of.
Yeah, this is in Call of Duty 4, when they actually go to Iraq in the film. He really specified that. If I remember correctly, that game did not do so well. Now that's an interesting conversation for
yeah, it's a conspiracy theory right there, man.
How well did Call of Duty?
How well was portrayed in this movie? Oh,
yeah, that's that. You know what? Now we're talking about Call of Duty 4. Which one was Call of Duty 4? Oh wait, never mind. It's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is actually the best one in the franchise. So ignore everything I just said. It's actually a really good game. It did not flop. It got remastered for the PS4 and everything. So it's a great game, really. I don't know why I didn't think about that, because I don't know. I don't call it Call of Duty 4. That's why I call it Modern Warfare.
Yeah, it's Modern Warfare, yeah.
Anyway, now that I put my foot in my mouth, we're going to go to our quote of the day. I have a couple quotes here. I'll start off first. They're not from the movie or anything like that. They are from people who are you necessarily don't associate with wrestling, but have been in as celebrities in wrestling for some time. The first one is from Andy Kaufman. There's no drama like wrestling, and that is pretty true. It's a soap opera played out in a sport. So, and wrestling is fake. It's choreographed stuff, but you can't fake falls. You can't fake a lot of the stuff they did in the film. Obviously, see some of the brutality that these people are doing. So, pretty crazy for me. But the next one is from Billy Corgan, the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins, also the owner of NWA Wrestling, or Power, which you can find that on YouTube when they actually get back up and running.
The owner of the most Todd has been compared to looking like this person.
Oh yeah. So Todd has said, so Billy Corgan, wrestling is one of the best, truly rebellious American things left. So thank you, Billy Corgan, for that quote, and Andy Kaufman for that matter. So.
All right. My quote comes from Mickey Rourke in his acceptance speech at the Film Independence Spirit Awards, which we will be voting on in probably like a month or so.
A couple weeks, we're going to do our episode on that too. So
when he was accepting his award in the most epic fashion that is now just legendary at this point, he talked about his boy, and who is now the man, Eric Roberts. He's like,
yeah,
Eric Roberts is probably the best actor I've ever worked with. I don't know why in the last 15 years no one has given him a chance to show his shit again. He'll probably be arrested by the end of today, but anyway. And that's just Mickey Rourke going off the cuff. That is him doing his thing. He is him one level. It is 100%, and that is his charisma to a T.
I love it also too, because in that same sequence he looks back. It's like, I'm just amazed, like the people who gave me this award, which is Philip Seymour Hoffman and Laura Dern. He's like, there's so much talent between you two. I don't know who you are, darling, but it's just the lady. It was just the girl walking up with the award to give to him. That's like, and
he never prepared a speech that whole Oscar season. It was amazing. Like,
yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman clearly was just lost his shit right there. He's like, oh my, like seeing their reaction was just priceless, man. Like that was.
And Aronofsky watching him do it was just like, dude, this is my dream. Like, this is my guy doing this, and he's like saying that I'm like a tough director.
Yeah, you know? And Darren Aronofsky flipped him off at the Golden Globes too, like for saying that same thing. He's like, oh yeah, whatever. It's so good, man.
They're all the actors away.
Yeah, and what he's like, yeah, he'll break you down, you know. So funny. Oh my god, that's crazy. I love his whole. I watched like leading up to this. I just watched a bunch of his awards, acceptance speeches, and something like. Man, he could totally. He was definitely scripted during the Golden Globes, loosely scripted. But the Spirit Awards, nope. I want to know what he was drinking. That's what I want to know. Like, what was he on?
Everyone's kind of drunk at that award show. Like at the BAFTAs, he sort of was the same way too.
Yeah, but it's so crazy though, because he went up against Sean Penn the whole award season. And he was winning a lot of it, other than the Oscar, really.
Well, I know. Well, Sean Penn won the SAG and the Critics' Choice and the Oscar. And the conspiracy theory is that Sean Penn only shows up at the award shows that he knows he's already winning. So he only showed up at the 3 that he won that year. He didn't show up at the other ones, which the Spirit Awards, those are his people.
Yeah, that is true.
So, that's the conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories. If you want Sean Penn to show up, tell him he's winning, and then he'll be there.
Hey, Sean, you got something on your nose, bud. I don't know what you got there, buddy. Anyway, guys, this has been a fun deep dive conversation. I'm looking forward to doing some more of these with you, man. Like, this has been a really fun conversation. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us on this deep dive conversation of 2008's The Wrestler. A lot of fun conversation, nerding about not just wrestling, Mickey Rourke's acceptance speeches, but also this amazing film that's one of the best, our favorite movies of all time. I definitely would love to hear what Zach and Terry have to say about this movie. So hopefully we can hear their thoughts shortly, even if it's just a little snippet. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, my name is Adam, and this is Todd. We'll talk to you later.